The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Genesis 6:5. The story begins in a world that had strayed far from the divine vision of creation. Humanity, created in the image of God and entrusted with the stewardship of the earth, had descended into a state of profound moral decay. The Bible describes this time as one of pervasive violence, corruption, and selfishness. Every human thought and action seemed to serve personal gain at the expense of others, with little regard for justice or righteousness. Understanding the context of this corruption requires looking back to the fall of Adam and Eve. Humanity's first rebellion against God planted the seeds of sin, and over generations, those seeds grew into a tangled web of greed, hatred, and cruelty. The harmony that once existed between humans, nature, and God had disintegrated. The narrative does not give specific details about the actions that characterize this era's wickedness. However, the phrase "the earth was filled with violence" implies a world marked by unchecked aggression, exploitation, and disregard for human dignity. People pursued their desires without consideration of the consequences, leading to widespread suffering and a fractured society. God's response to this corruption is both profound and complex. The Bible states that he regretted creating humanity and was deeply troubled by what he saw. Genesis 6:6. This passage does not suggest that God made a mistake in creation. His omniscience ensures he knew all that would unfold. Rather, his regret reflects his deep sorrow over the choices humanity made and the suffering they caused. This moment offers a glimpse into the heart of God, a creator who loves his creation deeply yet cannot ignore injustice. His grief is a testament to his desire for humanity to live in harmony with his will. Yet God's justice demanded action. He could not allow corruption to continue unchecked, as it would only deepen the suffering of the innocent and degrade the earth further. While God decided to cleanse the earth with a flood, his plan was not solely one of destruction. Embedded within this judgment was the promise of renewal. He chose Noah, a man of righteousness, to preserve life and ensure the continuation of creation. This decision highlights a central theme of the story. God's judgment is always accompanied by mercy. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Genesis 6:8. In the midst of humanity's widespread wickedness, Noah stood out as a man of faithfulness and integrity. His life provides a powerful example of how one individual can remain committed to righteousness even when surrounded by corruption. Noah is described as righteous and blameless among the people of his time. These words carry significant weight. To be righteous meant living in accordance with God's moral law, treating others with fairness and compassion. To be blameless did not mean sinless perfection, but rather a life lived with integrity and a heart oriented toward God. Noah's faith was not passive. He walked faithfully with God, indicating an active relationship with the Creator. This phrase suggests daily communion with God, a life shaped by prayer, obedience, and trust. Noah's faith distinguished him in a society that had largely abandoned such values. Remaining righteous in a corrupt world was no small task. Noah likely faced ridicule, isolation, and opposition from those around him. His commitment to God's ways would have set him apart, making him an object of scorn for those who embraced a life of self-indulgence. Yet Noah's faithfulness underscores an important truth. Righteousness is not dependent on circumstances, but on a relationship with God. Even when the world seems to celebrate sin, individuals can choose to live in alignment with divine principles. God's decision to work through Noah reveals his pattern of using faithful individuals to carry out his plans. Throughout the Bible, God often chooses people of humility and integrity to accomplish great purposes. In Noah's case, his righteousness made him the ideal candidate to preserve life and serve as the foundation for a renewed creation. God's call to Noah was both a challenge and a privilege. Building the ark and preparing for the flood required immense trust and perseverance. Noah's obedience would not only save his family, but also ensure the survival of countless species. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. Genesis 6:14. The construction of the ark is one of the most extraordinary aspects of the story. This massive vessel, built according to divine specifications, served as a symbol of God's provision and a tangible expression of Noah's faith. The ark was not designed as a ship in the traditional sense. It had no sails, rudders, or navigational tools. Its purpose was not to travel but to provide a safe haven during the flood. The dimensions, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, made it a massive structure, roughly the size of a modern cargo ship. The ark's construction required specific materials and techniques. Cypress wood, known for its durability, was chosen for its ability to withstand the elements. The use of pitch to waterproof the ark ensured it would remain sealed and buoyant despite the deluge. Noah's decision to build the ark was an act of profound faith. At the time, there was likely no precedent for such a structure. The idea of a catastrophic flood may have seemed absurd to Noah's contemporaries. Yet Noah obeyed without hesitation, trusting that God's command was rooted in wisdom and purpose. The ark also serves as a metaphor for God's provision. Just as the ark shielded Noah and his family from the floodwaters, God's grace offers protection to those who trust in Him. The parallels between the ark and other biblical themes of salvation, such as the cross of Christ, underscore its enduring significance. One of the most remarkable aspects of the ark was its role in preserving animal life. God commanded Noah to bring pairs of every unclean animal and 7 pairs of clean animals and birds. This distinction reflects the early recognition of certain animals as suitable for sacrifices, a practice that would later be codified in Mosaic law. The gathering of animals was likely a miraculous event, guided by divine intervention. Creatures from every corner of the earth came to the ark, representing the diversity and beauty of God's creation. Their inclusion emphasizes the value God places on all life, not just humanity. For 40 days the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. Genesis 7:17. The flood itself was both a moment of divine judgment and the beginning of a new chapter in the story of creation. Its impact was profound, reshaping the earth and serving as a stark reminder of the consequences of sin. The flood began with a dramatic rupture of the natural order. The springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, indicating a cataclysmic event that combined torrential rain with geological upheaval. This description emphasizes the comprehensive nature of the flood. It was not a localized event, but a global phenomenon that affected every part of the earth. For 40 days and nights, rain fell continuously. The waters rose higher and higher, submerging even the tallest mountains. The description of the flood as covering the entire earth underscores its purpose: to cleanse creation of corruption and provide a fresh start. For Noah and his family, the ark was both a refuge and a place of waiting. The sounds of the storm, the cries of animals, and the knowledge of the destruction outside created an atmosphere of both awe and solemnity. Their faith was tested as they remained confined, trusting that God would fulfill His promise to deliver them. The ark's passengers faced practical challenges as well. Caring for the animals, managing provisions, and maintaining a sense of hope required cooperation and resilience. Yet their time in the ark also deepened their reliance on God and strengthened their bonds as a family. After 150 days, the waters began to recede. God caused a wind to blow over the earth, helping to dry the floodwaters. Slowly the land re-emerged, and the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. This moment marked the beginning of a new chapter in creation. Noah's patience during this time is noteworthy. Despite the apparent safety, he waited for God's command before leaving the ark. This demonstrates his continued trust in God's timing and wisdom. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Genesis 9:13. As Noah and his family stepped out of the ark, they entered a transformed world. The flood had cleansed the earth, creating a blank slate for humanity and creation. God's covenant with Noah marked the beginning of this new era. Noah's first act upon leaving the ark was to build an altar to the Lord. Using some of the clean animals and birds, he offered burnt sacrifices as a gesture of gratitude and worship. This act acknowledged God's deliverance and underscored the centrality of worship in the renewed creation. God's response to Noah's sacrifice was one of grace. He promised never to curse the ground because of humanity again, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. Genesis 8:21. This promise reflects God's commitment to mercy despite humanity's flaws. The rainbow, set in the clouds, became the symbol of God's covenant with Noah and all living creatures. This covenant extended beyond Noah's family to encompass all creation, emphasizing God's care for every aspect of the world he had made. The rainbow serves as a reminder of God's faithfulness and his desire to preserve life. Its beauty and symbolism continue to inspire awe and hope, pointing to the enduring nature of God's promises. The story concludes with a vision of renewal. God blessed Noah and his sons, instructing them to be fruitful and increase in number. Genesis 9:1. This command echoed the original blessing given to Adam and Eve, signaling a fresh start for humanity. Noah's story is one of faith, perseverance, and divine grace. It reminds us of the consequences of sin, but also the power of redemption. Through Noah, God preserved creation and offered humanity a second chance, laying the foundation for his ongoing relationship with the world. Continuing the detailed narrative. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. From them came the people who were scattered over the whole earth. Genesis 9:18-19. As the waters receded and Noah and his family began anew, the story transitions from the dramatic events of the flood to the quieter yet no less significant tale of rebuilding humanity. From Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, sprang the nations of the earth. This chapter explores the legacy of Noah, the lives of his descendants, and the moral lessons embedded within their story. God's blessing to Noah and his sons, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. Genesis 9:1 mirrors the command given to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. This repetition underscores a theme of renewal. The flood had wiped the slate clean, offering humanity a chance to start afresh in a world no longer marred by widespread corruption. Noah's family became the progenitors of all future generations. His three sons represent the diversity and unity of the human race. From their descendants arose nations, languages, and cultures, fulfilling God's plan for humanity to inhabit and steward the earth. Even as Noah's story highlights themes of righteousness and renewal, it does not shy away from human imperfection. After the flood, Noah, described as a man of the soil, planted a vineyard and eventually drank wine made from its grapes. The Bible recounts that he became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. This incident, though brief, carries significant implications. Ham, Noah's son, saw his father's nakedness and told his brothers, Shem and Japheth. The two brothers, out of respect, took a garment, walked backward into the tent, and covered their father without looking at him. When Noah awoke and learned what had occurred, he cursed Ham's son, Canaan, declaring, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers." Genesis 9:25. This curse, though seemingly harsh, reflects the cultural significance of honor and shame. Ham's actions, interpreted as disrespect or even mockery, contrasted sharply with the reverence shown by Shem and Japheth. This episode reveals an essential truth. Even righteous individuals like Noah are not immune to human frailty. His vulnerability reminds us of the ongoing struggle with sin, even in a world cleansed by the flood. Noah's prophetic words to his sons highlight the unfolding of human history. Shem, from whom the Semitic peoples and eventually the Hebrew nation would descend, received Noah's blessing. Japheth was promised expansion and harmony with Shem's lineage. Ham's descendants, particularly through Canaan, were subject to Noah's curse. These declarations are not merely personal judgments, but foreshadow the future dynamics of nations. The descendants of Shem would play a central role in God's covenantal relationship with humanity, while the lineages of Ham and Japheth would take on different roles in the unfolding story of the world. Genesis 10, often called the Table of Nations, provides a genealogical record of Noah's descendants. This chapter serves as a bridge between the story of the flood and the broader narrative of humanity's development. The genealogies trace the spread of Noah's family across the earth, emphasizing the diversity of cultures and peoples that arose from a single origin. The sons of Japheth settled in maritime regions and became the ancestors of the Indo-European peoples. The descendants of Ham, including notable figures like Nimrod, who founded Babylon and Nineveh, settled in regions such as Canaan, Egypt, and Cush, modern-day Ethiopia. Shem's lineage included the ancestors of Abraham, establishing a direct connection to the future story of Israel. Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Genesis 11:4. The post-flood world quickly became populated with diverse peoples, but humanity's tendency toward pride and rebellion resurfaced. The story of the Tower of Babel serves as a poignant reminder of this inclination and illustrates God's intervention to guide human history. The descendants of Noah, united by a single language, settled in the plain of Shinar. There they began constructing a city and a tower that would reach the heavens. This project was driven by a desire for self-glorification, as they declared their intention to make a name for ourselves. The tower symbolized humanity's collective pride and ambition. Rather than dispersing and filling the earth as God had commanded, they sought to consolidate their power in defiance of His will. The narrative highlights the danger of human arrogance, particularly when it seeks to replace dependence on God with self-sufficiency. God observed humanity's actions and recognized the potential for even greater rebellion if left unchecked. In an act of judgment and mercy, He confused their language, causing them to no longer understand one another. This linguistic division forced them to abandon their project and scatter across the earth. The scattering at Babel fulfilled God's original command for humanity to spread out and steward the earth. It also marked the beginning of the diversity of languages and cultures that define human society today. The story of Noah and the flood is rich with theological significance, offering insights into the nature of God, humanity, and the relationship between them. The flood is a powerful demonstration of God's justice. He does not ignore sin or allow evil to persist indefinitely. Yet even in judgment, His mercy is evident. By preserving Noah and his family, God provides a way for humanity to continue and for creation to be renewed. The covenant with Noah, sealed by the rainbow, underscores God's commitment to life. His promise never to destroy the earth with a flood again reflects His desire to guide humanity toward redemption rather than annihilation. Noah's life is a model of faith and obedience. His willingness to follow God's commands, even when they seemed incomprehensible, demonstrates the power of trust in divine wisdom. Noah's story challenges us to live faithfully, even when faced with uncertainty or opposition. The ark serves as a metaphor for God's provision and salvation. It is a place of refuge in the midst of judgment, a symbol that points forward to the ultimate salvation offered through Jesus Christ. Just as the ark preserved Noah and his family, so does God's grace protect those who trust in Him. The story of Noah and the flood is not merely an ancient narrative. It is a timeless account that speaks to the human condition and God's enduring love. It reminds us of the consequences of sin, the importance of faith, and the hope of renewal. Through Noah, we see that even in the darkest times, God's light shines brightly, offering a path to redemption. As we reflect on Noah's story, we are called to consider our own relationship with God and the ways in which we can live as faithful stewards of His creation. The covenant of the rainbow assures us that, despite humanity's flaws, God's love and mercy prevail, guiding us toward a future of hope and restoration.